Jacob duped the old man into giving him, not Esau, the family inheritance. Esau threatened to kill his younger brother for what he'd done. And so Jacob fled for his life and landed in the neighborhood of his uncle, Laban. 20 years, 2 wives, and a van full of children later, Jacob is run out of his father-in-law's territory. And now he's finally coming home to the land of his father Isaac, the land of his brother Esau. Where we pick up the story, what Vivian just read, it's the night before Jacob meets his estranged brother. Tomorrow, he'll face his twin, the brother he humiliated and wronged. Will Esau consider it water under the bridge? Bygones will be bygones? Or will he kill Jacob like he said he would 20 years ago? It doesn't sound good. Jacob's messengers tell him that Esau has sent 400 of his men to meet him. And so, starting to sweat bullets, Jacob decides to mollify his older brother. And he sends him gifts of goats, sheep, cattle, camels, and even donkeys. He even sends his wives and children ahead of him to meet Esau first. Doesn't this sound like the ideal husband and father, right? If tomorrow he hears their screams on the other side of the river, he'll rethink the idea of reuniting with his brother. But now it is night, where Jacob is quite literally alone, by himself, with only his thoughts and his fears about tomorrow, his companions. It's night. It's dark. And like out of a scary movie, Jacob all of a sudden is assaulted by a stranger. Who is this stranger who jumps Jacob in the middle of the night? Nobody knows. The narrative is sparse on details, saying only that a man wrestled with him till daybreak. It's dark. There's no moonlight. Neither we nor Jacob knows for sure who it is. Is he wrestling his older brother Esau, like he wrestled with him in the womb? Did Esau cross the river and decide he couldn't wait to get his revenge on Jacob and wanted to dish it out himself? Or is Jacob wrestling with an angel or a demon sent to punish or test him? The nighttime grappler never reveals his name, and we never see his face. But by the end of his exhausting wrestling match, Jacob will be convinced that the figure he wrestled with was God. It's not the first time Jacob has heard the voice of God at night. Just a few weeks ago, we heard the account of Jacob's dream at Bethel, shortly after he fled from his brother's wrath, headed for his uncle's country. When he laid his weary head down for the night and had that beautiful vision of a ladder leading up to the heavens with angels going up and down that ladder, the voice that he heard was soothing. That voice promised Jacob that he would have a future blessed with many children and descendants, through whom all people on earth will be blessed. And that voice offered a close, intimate promise. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Now that's the way that you and I would like an encounter with God to go, right? One where we wake up with a sense of hope for the future, a sense that God is in our corner, that God's got our back to help us through the trials of life, where we wake up refreshed with new purpose and new energy directing our feet. But tonight's encounter with the nighttime grappler is entirely different. It's a multi-hour, evenly matched struggle that lasts all night. As they approach dawn, his opponent pulls a Ric Flair and puts Jacob's hip out of whack. Undeterred, Jacob continues to grapple, to struggle, until it's his opponent who relents and says, "Let me go. It's almost daybreak." I will not let you go until you bless me, counters Jacob. What is your name? Asks the man Jacob's been wrestling with for hours. Jacob, he replies. And the man says, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with people and have overcome. Jacob then asks, well, what's your name? But the stranger only answers, why do you ask my name? Before he finally blesses Jacob. Jacob did not win a clear victory that night. He did not get an answer to that very basic question of who it was that he was wrestling with. What he got was a new name and a new identity. Up to this point in his life, Jacob lived up to his name. He's been a trickster, a grabber, a heel. But now he has a new name, Israel, meaning God preserves. In the new name given by the stranger, there is new being. A new man, a new people have been formed, called forth by God. A new people, the people Israel, will spring from Jacob's sons. Jacob never found out the name of his nighttime wrestling opponent, and he never saw his face. And yet, Jacob is forever changed. We too often find ourselves in Jacob's sandals when we search for God. We want to eat of the tree of knowledge and peek behind the curtain to know all the mysteries of heaven and earth. We want to know God's name so that we can address God informally, call on God when we're in trouble. We want to be able to ask God to do things for us. And we want God's face to be a kindly, helpful, approachable face. But in today's story, Jacob's opponent never even divulges his name, never even shows his face. He's eager to wrap things up before daybreak, before his face might be seen by the sun. And so the mystery remains. But so too does the blessing. The people of Israel come into this world from their forefather, Jacob, the man who struggled with God. Now, sometimes I think we get the impression that the New Testament has a monopoly on grace. But you can find plenty of grace in the Old Testament as well. Because what is today's story, if not a story about God's grace? Was Jacob blessed by God, favored by God, because he was so good? Because he was so honest, so transparent, such a stand-up guy? No. But Jacob was persistent, almost to the point of being obnoxious. And in the end, God granted Jacob God's blessing. In his desire to see God, to find out God's name, Jacob, Israel, got wounded. But he was blessed in the struggle. We're reminded that most encounters with God don't happen like Hallmark movies, ending in smiles and laughter. Sometimes God jumps on you in the dark. God wrestles you to the ground, and God will even push you to your limit. We want to know God's name. We demand to know more about God's mystery. But instead, God doesn't divulge that. God names us. And though we might be blessed, though our lives might be changed forever by the encounter with God, we often limp from that struggle.